Welcome back to another virtual bourbon experience with Railbird Selects and Tastings. We're all at home again, socially distancing, but still hand-picking bourbon for the Railbird collection. I'm Drew Franklin from Kentucky Sports Radio, back to host another round of sampling, and this time we're tasting single-barrel bourbon from Blanton's to find the perfect one for Railbird. If you tuned in for the Buffalo Trace pick, we have the same cast of characters, possibly wearing the same clothing from that one. We're excited to see all the same faces. We have Beau, Beckman, and Susannah Hubler are back from Sazerac, this time with the Blanton samples, for which one will become Blanton's pick for Railbird. Good to see you all again. Ready to do it another time?
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yeah, ready to pick another one.
Of course, we have David Helmers, who in this time of quarantining and staying at home has become like the only piece of normalcy, David, in these bourbon tastings we're doing each week. David, good to see you again.
It's good to see you, and this is exciting. Blanton's has always been one of my go-to bourbons, particularly when you could find it on the shelf. I love it. I've got my Railbird Blanton's bottle right there behind me, and I can't wait to taste some amazing Blanton's bourbon today.
We're glad to do it all again. We also have Justin Sloan, another popular fixture on these tastings, and some large piece of fur behind him at Justin's House of Bourbon. Justin, how are you?
Can't complain, man. Ready to giddy up on this Blantons. Let's go.
And recurring guest back for a second time, three of our special tasters, some of the best tasters we've had in any of these. I'll start with Gathan Borden first, Vice President of Marketing at Visit Lex. Visit Lex does a lot of great stuff for Lexington. Gathan, good to see you again.
Hey, glad to be back. You know, Blanton's is like the bourbon enigma, so I'm glad to be able to sample this today, you know.
All right, ready for another run. Steve Zahn is here, and I thought we were going to have a costume. I saw a prop earlier as we were getting ready. Is that not going to play a role?
I have lots of them. I got helmets and everything. Safety first.
Now, what exactly is that piece of equipment on your head?
It's a paratrooper, World War II.
Okay.
Looks good. It's a nice addition to the ambiance here. Now, we also have Paul Steele from Triple 8 Management out of Nashville. A lot of talented musicians under your management there. Name a few for us that we might recognize.
Oh, Lord. Pat Green, Eli Young Band, Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors, Boys Like Girls, Jude and the Lion, bunch of random folks.
Lots of random folks, and we turned all of them down to pick you. You know, could have had any of those people.
That's it. They weren't available. I blocked them. I heard it was Blanton's, and I said, I'm not doing this unless it's Blanton's. And so here we are.
I think we're all ready to drink some Blanton's. If you all remember the format from last time, we have 3 samples in front of us. People watching at home can comment on YouTube as we go, and we'll try to answer those as it happens. Blanton's folks, you want to walk us through the 3 we have here and where they came from there at the property?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little insight on the brand Blanton's. So it is actually the first commercially sold single barrel bourbon. So this distillery was built. It was basically a mom and pop distillery, 1800s, and then E.H. Taylor came in and modernized it and turned it from a mom and pop bourbon distillery to what you see today. Well, after him came Albert Blanton, and Albert Blanton started here as an office boy and then worked his way up to what was called, plant manager at the time, but we would call it probably master distiller today. And he actually built the first metal warehouse on property in 1934. And a few years before that, he actually built a house there was a big hill here at the distillery, and on top of the hill is his house. And so probably 1940s, 1950s, this is about the time Elmer G. Lee was hired. Albert Blanton was throwing parties at his house, sending the warehouse crew down to the warehouse that he had built to grab a barrel to bring it up to the house for a party. Well, Elmer T. Lee was on that warehouse crew and one of the guys that had to do that every so often. So fast forward to 1984, and bourbon is collapsed at this point, but Elmer had the idea of grabbing one barrel out of Warehouse H, the warehouse that Albert Blanton built, and bottling it as a single barrel because that's how Blanton consumed it at his parties. So ever since then, that was the first commercially sold single barrel bourbon. So I guess we don't want to reference the Buffalo Trace tasting too much, but essentially when we're picking these barrels, there is a very tight window because the stock offering is a single barrel. So we're comparing each of these samples to a single barrel bourbon and one bottle of it that we've deemed as our reference. With something like Buffalo Trace, we would take one of these samples, but we're comparing it to a batch. meaning that there's kind of more wiggle room of what we get into the Buffalo Trace program, but a tighter threshold of what gets into Blanton's. So you're really cherry picking some of the best stuff with Blanton's, and that's why it has such a fan following, even though it's one of our younger ones.
Yeah, and just like we talked about in Buffalo Trace, but this goes for any Blantons, whether it's picked to buy an account like what we're doing, or if it's regular Blantons you're going to find on the shelf. Always single barrel and always going through that tasting panel. So every barrel has to go through that panel. All it takes is one member again to kick it out, and then we don't package it and sell it as that Blanton's brand. So it gets held to a pretty high standard because again, all it takes is one member to not think it matches that profile, and then it doesn't become that. So with these and kind of what Beau was saying, you're going to get a little, and it can depend, but sometimes you get a little less variance in between what we're tasting here than what we're tasting with the Buffalo Trace. Because again, all of them are going to be Blantons, always single barrel, and always coming from that same warehouse as well. If you've been to the distillery, you probably noticed that metal warehouse kind of in the parking lot. If you've been on a barrel selection, it's where we actually do the barrel selections out of warehouse days, kind of in honor of it being the original single barrel bourbon. But it's the only metal one that we have. So the brand is kind of unique to that warehouse. And the metal kind of allows for bourbon to flow more in and out of the barrel because you get more temperature fluctuation in that warehouse. So it kind of speed up the aging process a little bit, which is also why I think people tend to think this one is older than a brand like Buffalo Trace, but usually it's somewhere around 1.5 to 2 years younger than regular Buffalo Trace too. So these ones that we're going to taste, again, all the same warehouse, are really focusing on the barrel difference between them. And again, those different combinations of staves, maybe where it aged in the warehouse, maybe different floors, but a lot of it's going to be down to that exact barrel that we pulled these from. So I think just like we did with the Buffalo Trace, we'll go through, smell them all, and start tasting them as you guys go through, and then we'll see where we're at.
Guys, so the first sample is 001. I'm assuming that's the very first barrel that Elmer pulled out of the warehouse.
Ever made.
Ever made, right?
Even if it's Railbird.
I was thinking that. I was just checking.
Yeah, it's good confirmation.
Good.
Really,
You should keep these samples separate, right, for the taste.
yeah. That would have been the first barrel probably filled on that day of that recipe.
Yeah, right.
I know Blanton's is very popular because it tastes awesome, but also a lot of people like to collect the stoppers. They're very popular. I'm wondering, on these, does this hold any value on eBay? Any potential here from our
Your
stoppers?
current plastic cap. What's your code on the inside?
That's true. I didn't look inside. But how did that come to be? I know a lot of people who would murder over some of those. They're such a big deal.
Honestly, it's crazy. So there's been one package change with the brand Blanton since it was launched in '84. And what they did was they started putting specific letters on the horse's hoof. And so what you can do now is there's 8 different tops. And if you were to collect them all, there's actually 2 S's, and one S, you have to look close enough, has an apostrophe. But if you collect them all and line them up, it shows a horse race. So you'll notice the B is still in the gate. And then I think I'm dyslexic, so I'm trying to spell out loud here. It's dangerous. N, almost the last letter, the Blanton, is nosing across the finish line. And then the last S, you can see he's fist pumping because he won. Well, I assume he won.
Yeah.
Or he's fist pumping for the loss. But no.
Well, I've seen a lot of folks who will take a barrel stave, collect those 6 or 7 different caps, and then display them that way.
There are people that will take it to the next level. So like that bottle of Blanton's behind you, David, it also shows the actual barrel number. So it'll say this is this barrel of Blanton's. Well, there are people that will only try to collect tops from the same barrel, which is a really hard thing to do if you understand how alcohol is distributed.
Yeah.
Right, you got to travel around and look for the 147.
This is going to be tough.
Yeah. So
is it?
Bourbon is a collection.
Yeah, this is tough, man.
Blanton's is tough. It's always the hardest for me to pick.
Thanks.
As we get started here, let's kind of just talk about what we smell on the nose first. I know some have already started tasting, but anybody want to share just what they get from smell?
This
stand out?
Smooth and light. I get a lot of vanilla from the 30 and 60.
You get a lot of caramel too on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the second to 30 and 60 have a little more warmth or flavor in the nose at first sniff.
It's so interesting. It's so interesting to me that the definitely the minute variances in these barrels compared to another Buffalo Trace brand. So it's a kind of wild to see. The nose can be even different from even barrels that are 60 barrels apart or whatever.
Yeah.
So if we like all three of these, do we get all three for Railbird or?
When I started, I used to start every one of these tastings with, if you don't like them all, don't take any of them. And if you like them all, take them all. And that would happen for several years until fun.
David, let's go, man.
Yeah.
I just tell people no every day when they ask.
Remembering why I like Blanton so much. So Railbird can take one, and then Justin's will take one, and then I'll take the other.
Chaos Bar and Grill will take the other.
I've been waiting for you guys to call.
Hey.
Wow.
With you, Drew. We'll split it with you.
Wow.
Man, this is splitting hairs. I mean, it's like
That's
really good.
I find the first one to be the more distinct tasting than the 30 and 60. 30 and 60 both.
The nose on 60 is
A
awesome.
lot of people won't realize if you have a bottle of Blanton's at home that you just picked up off the shelf, a lot of people don't realize that if you were to find another bottle and taste them side by side, you'd come across these differences.
Mhm.
Just usually you're going to empty a bottle and then open your next. You're not just going to taste them side by side.
Right.
I've
Because
had
they're all
people
single
use
barrels,
it.
they're going to be
Like
those
a specific
slight-
letter.
Got mine.
Wow.
I hear someone say that
Yeah.
I picked out.
So don't forget.
What'd you say?
I'm gonna have a pretzel.
Palate cleanser.
That was a hell of a buildup.
It really was.
Wow.
Man, they're all good.
Man, they are. That's gonna be tough.
It's tough. There's one that I don't. There's two that I prefer over one though, so I've narrowed that down.
Ooh, Gathan. All right.
Yeah, I think I got it that far.
Okay.
Does anybody have a favorite on just the nose, on the smell, or is it too hard to pick just based off of that?
I'm going with 60 on the nose.
On the nose, 60?
I'd say it's a little brighter on the nose for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna finish this pretzel and I'm gonna dive back in.
Sometimes you do need to kind of rinse out a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta erase everything.
Well,
Clean the palate.
usually that first taste too, you're getting acclimated.
Wow. Now, what proof are these that we're? What proof are we tasting this right now?
Should be roughly close to the 93 proof. We get them pulled out of the barrels at barrel proof. Sometimes it's around 120, 130. And then we add water to get them cut down close to 93. It's not going to be exact. I would say within a proof or so of that 93 proof.
Gathan, I don't know how you already eliminated one because I love all three.
Yeah, all three great.
Yeah, man. There was two that hit me really good in the mouth, and I was like, oh, that's where it's at, though. Yeah, the smell of all three are amazing.
I've got a favorite.
I've got a
I
favorite.
think I've dialed into two, but I don't want to throw one of them out yet.
And sometimes when you're picking Blantons, a lot of people will, just because how close they can be, are thinking which one is the most different from what you do.
I must ask you, Steve. Do you have?
It helps me erase everything I did before. I think I look like I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That is the outer
Very
Blanton.
smart. Very, very smart.
I think Beau meant you're supposed to reset your palate, not your entire character for the day.
Ginger beard.
Oh,
Hey,
well,
he's a free bird, man. Let him just fly however he dreams.
Drew, you need to get the top of that for your beard. The bottom is perfect,
Yeah.
but you need Steve's mustache.
I'm
to
not
Yeah,
able
that-
to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
You're almost there.
You need some product, Drew.
Maybe next bourbon tasting, I'll just go full
No, we
mustache.
got time.
even better.
Can you see out of those things? That seems like a strong prescription.
No, I cannot.
He doesn't-
Your eyes are huge.
Yeah, but special. I actually had a character. I played a character that had bad eyesight. So I went into optometrist, and I was like, "Hey, can I just get some glasses?" And they go, "No, we have to actually do the whole thing." And then I said, well, I want really thick ones. And he said, well, some lady is going to pick these up and she doesn't want them. And so I bought them.
You're gonna get a headache in like 3 minutes.
No. That's good.
That's what the bourbon's for.
Oh! Yeah, okay. I know what both guys, same bourbon.
All right. So how do we move forward here, Drew or Beau? I mean, how do we eliminate one? These are all so good and they're so close.
Yeah, this is really hard.
I think we should just sit here and drink all day until all three of them are gone.
So if you pause and look to see which one has the least amount left, that's usually the one you like the most too.
I wasn't measuring when I was pouring. I was a little distracted, so I'm a little uneven.
Right, we could just drink. We could just stay here, finish all these samples, and then roll the dice.
I have my favorite, I guess. I mean,
Meet over at KSR bar.
So close.
Wow.
And this is and our master distiller would love to see this because that means he's consistent. And that's one of the hardest things to do with bourbon.
Yeah. Actually, very impressive consistency there.
Well, that's better. He's, like
when people try to tell us drinking bourbon in the afternoon on a weekday is not work, this is the kind of stuff that makes it work. This is not an easy decision.
Yeah.
This is Susannah's last job.
Every day.
It is.
My opinion is changing. I said like 3 or 4 minutes ago, I had a favorite, but I kept drinking, and I may be moving from one to another.
If you just opened your samples too, David, they'll open up a little bit as they oxidize. It'll change a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, 2, I just thought was fantastic with 30. I mean, everyone was talking about the nose on 3, which was great, but I thought 2 was really good, and it had a really great flavor, mouthfeel, finish. I mean, I just thought it really stood out to me. As I've sat here a little bit longer, like 3's kind of taking the charge down the home stretch, as we say. So.
Yeah, I
think you're right.
I liked 2 a lot, and then the longer I've drank, 3's just that steady Eddie. You want to drive that pickup on down the highway going 55.
2's pretty close, man.
Dan and I both landed on 60.
Yeah.
Number 3.
That's what I wrote down early on.
I'm at 60. 30 and 60 are very similar. I think the outlier is 1, but it's still not bad. But 60 and 30 are very similar, but 60 gets the edge.
60 has a little more staying power for me.
Yeah. Are we doing the number hold up thingamajiggy?
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's do that.
We can do 1, 2, or 3 for 1, 30, or 60. So
everybody drink one more time.
Yeah, everybody go back and try 1 again because it may surprise you.
And then we'll vote.
Why don't we vote to eliminate 1 and take it down to 2 and go from there? So instead of holding up your favorite, hold up which
I think that's a great idea. Do that.
Yes, we'll vote on your least favorite. Does everybody have 1 in mind?
Least favorite, yeah.
Well, I don't have 1 in mind, but I do have a favorite in mind.
All right. So
least favorite is a mean thing to say.
Yeah. Well, there has to be a least favorite.
That's true. Hey everybody, it's David Helmers with the Railbird Festival. I wanted to thank you again for tuning in and watching us and joining us as we selected single barrels for the Railbird Selects for 2020. We had a little bit of an error and we lost the end of the video of the Blanton's pick, but I wanted to let you know we did make an amazing selection. We selected sample 3, and those bottles will be available soon through Justin's House of Bourbon. We can't wait for you to try them, along with all the other great bourbons that are part of the 2020 collection of Railbird Selects. Thanks again. We appreciate your support. We can't wait to see you back out on the grounds at Keeneland for Railbird for real. Have a great day.